So we want to talk about the urinary system again, a part of the 11 body systems or organ systems of the human body. Learning objectives here. Talk about like the wow, the anatomical structures of the urinary system, functions of the urinary system, and compare and contrast the urinary system of both male and females. All right, the urinary system is pretty complex, but one big thing, one big organ that plays a huge role in the urinary system, kidney. And so here the main role of the kidney is the regulation of extracellular fluid volume. The kidney works to ensure an adequate quantity of plasma to help keep blood flowing into the vital organs. We also know that kidneys pretty much just to help to filter out blood in a sense, right? Regulate osmolarity, that's just simply just dealing with basically the balance of water. When you talk about osmosis, the movement of water across from high concentration to low concentration through a semi-permeable membrane. The excretion of waste and toxins that eventually enters the urine. So of course the kidneys simply just, again, like I said, they help to filter out the blood and just pull some of the waste and toxins out of the blood, and that is what we urinate out. And then also produces hormones. Okay. All right, so again, here we have the kidneys. All right, so of course, we have two kidneys, as you very well may know. We can live on one kidney. There's some people who have to have a kidney removed due to cancer, some sort of infection or something like that. There, right? So yes, you can survive on one kidney. I'm sure it's going to work a little harder, but yes, we can survive on one kidney. So know this. So from the kidneys, then it goes to the ureters. So pretty much as the urine is kind of forming, all right, in the kidneys, okay, are separating the waste products. Go back to red, you can see a little better, in the kidneys, and then it goes through the ureters. All right, so you have ureters flanking on both sides, and then it winds up in the bladder. All right. And the bladder basically, of course, it can expand and contract depending upon how much urine is in there. And actually, there's a decent amount of urine that can be contained in the bladder. I mean, a number of milliliters. And of course, in science, we talk about milliliters there. Not so much in terms of cups or anything like that. That's more so American science, but that deals with the metric system. But nonetheless, so from the bladder, it goes through the urethra, all right, and then we just urinate it out. Okay, so again, from kidneys, ureter, bladder, urethra, and it's out. All right, so just looking at some things a little bit more in detail. All right, so of course we have the kidneys here again. Okay, here we have the abdominal, all right, aorta. Okay, and the abdominal aorta, of course, now this is going on to the legs to bring blood to the legs, but the abdominal aorta, of course, bring blood to the kidneys, and it's going to actually be displaced, say, like in the right renal artery, and of course, you have the left renal artery. All right, so again, bringing oxygenated blood to the kidney. Again, that's going to be filtered out, and of course, the kidney needs a blood supply, itself, in order to live and thrive and survive. And then, of course, the kidney will actually, filter out the blood, and it goes into the renal veins, okay, and goes up the vena cava, which would be going back up to the heart. All right, and then you have again the right ureter, the left ureter. Remember, we have the two ureters there, and then of course to the bladder. Obviously, this is a male because you have the testes and the scrotum here, but both male and females have a bladder. And both male and females have a urethra. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Of course, males and females do not, I'm sorry, of course, females do not have a prostate. We'll talk about that there. But again, like I said, that this is simply showing the male anatomy of the urinary system. And there's some similarities, but there, of course, there are some differences as relates to the difference, I'm sorry, the similarities and the difference with both the male and female urinary systems. This is from a cadaver. All right, and as you see here, okay, so this is the diaphragm, helps in, and above the diaphragm, the lungs, helps in the breathing process. Abdominal, all right, aorta, okay, both the kidneys, all right, and here you have the vena cava, okay, oops, I'm gonna try to blue maybe, all right, that would take the deoxygenated blood back up, okay, to the heart. So again, you have the two kidneys here. And again, like I said, this is just a picture of a cadaver. So this is the real thing, not an actual picture. This is just a photograph of an actual cadaver. All right, so like I said, you have the abdominal aorta, the vena cava, and kidneys, and then and so on and so forth. It's hard, and as you might be able to see it here, the ureters come up here. Okay, so yeah, so that's an actual cadaver. All right, again, this is just showing side by side of, just computer image and actual inside of actual body. So again, the ureter is coming off the kidneys, and right here you see the ureter, all right, flowing into the bladder, and again from the bladder into the urethra, and then it's expelled. This is of a female, as you can imagine, all right. So it's a pretty nice little showing the picture that has been kind of looked like created electronically, computer-wise, as well as what it really looks inside of a human body. Again, this is the diaphragm separating both. Down here is we call the abdominal cavity. Above the diaphragm, we call the thoracic cavity. All right, so as the kidney itself, the renal medulla, the innermost part of the kidney. So this is the renal medulla, kind of like a pyramid shape here. They have a number of them, the renal medulla. All right, so again, this is where the blood is coming in, and blood is going to go out, deoxygenated blood. All right, and then I say the renal medulla, a number of different sections, kind of a pyramid shape. And that's where the blood enters in through the kidneys and everything to be filtered out. And again, the waste products will actually accumulate in here. Okay, will accumulate in here and then go through the ureter, going into the bladder. And so again, the renal medulla over here, looking at, from the perspective of a real kidney. The renal cortex is the outer portion of the kidney between the renal capsule and the renal medulla. So this area is the renal cortex. As you see here, the actual real gross anatomy for kidney, the renal cortex. And again, ureter here, and as you can see, the ureter, real live ureter here. Okay. All right, this is simply just from a cadaver. Again, showing the urinary system. Again, bladder, ureter. And we'll get more in terms of the vas deferens, the testes and scrotum when we get into the reproductive system. But as you can see here, the urethra, okay, kind of coming through there, coming off the bladder. All right, and then this is the rectum. So this is for the buildup of the feces, and where the feces is released. Okay, so the similarities with the male and female urinary system, of course, they have kidneys, ureter, bladder, urethra, but some of the differences here, all right? And some of the striking differences are, number one, the urethra with the male, it is long or longer compared to the female. Maybe around the length, around 18 to 20 centimeters for the male. Length for the female, it's about 4 centimeters. So again, the urethra coming from the bladder and actually and for the urine to be ejected out. That part is the urethra, from the bladder out. Okay. Um, so again, of course, these are some of the functions for the male for urination and ejaculation. Of course, urination only for the female. Okay. So that's the difference. So again, here is the urethra for the male, and then the urethra for the female, of course, a lot shorter in length. So again, about 3 to 4 centimeters urethra for a female. All right, 18 to 20 centimeters urethra for the male. Now that's going to play a role in something, and that's going to play a role in terms of actual what? Infections. All right. So when we talk about infections there, right, like UTIs, urinary tract infections, and so on and so forth, we have microorganisms that colonizes all around our body. All right. So the microorganisms do not have as far to travel up the urethra and enter the bladder, because it's a shorter distance with the female compared to the distance associated with the male. So of course, both male and females can get a UTI, but again, since one reason why males get, compared to females, get fewer UTIs is because the bacteria will have to travel a longer distance to enter the bladder as opposed to females. And then, of course, we know that also with the females, another reason is because of the rectum and the urethra are pretty close together with the female. So that's also, of course, going to play a role as well. All right, this is just a schematic, just kind of just showing of all UTIs. It's kind of like maybe like a rough estimate, but out of all UTIs, more so, you're going to have more females than males. You might look at different sources, and the numbers might be a little bit different, but the main point that I'm showing here is simply that basically you're going to have more females coming down with UTIs than males. This is just schematic. Actually kind of breaks down into age. I won't spend a whole lot of time with this, but in terms of talking about, but we have the N. N simply means like the value number or the sample size. So of 160 males, the N value, or the sample size, 160, and 242 females. So of course, yeah, these numbers are different, but if you look at the percentages, okay, still percentage is percentage, and you'll see it, a striking difference there. Now it's kind of interesting when you kind of get a little bit older. I don't know if we'll really have enough time to get into that there, but things can kind of change up there. All right, and then just quickly, again, now one thing with the male, males do have a prostate. All right, and unfortunately, prostate can get inflamed. All right, so that's prostatitis. The suffix itis simply means inflammation of, and what happens that can actually block urination. All right, so that can block urination there. Prostate also can become cancerous as well. If I remember correctly, well, pretty much prostate cancer is probably like the number 2 form of cancer for all males. If we looked at all males, all the different males of different cultures throughout the world, prostate cancer is probably leading number 1. And it just becomes cancerous. Now, it's a slow-growing cancer compared to some other cancers there, but yeah, it still can be a problem. That's why early detection is very, very important. But again, urine flowing down right here, and then here's like an issue if this can close up, it can block urine. So medically speaking, what would a healthcare provider or a doctor or nurse would have to do? Well, they would actually have to insert a catheter inside here so that it will kind of open this area up and everything to allow urine to flow through. And here are just some examples of catheters. So what happens is that they'll actually put this up the urethra of a male, and then they'll actually inflate this little balloon to allow for it to stay in place. they don't inflate this catheter can fall right out, but it's allowed for it to stay in place. And then what happens is that the urine will just flow on out. It's designed to flow on out. And the catheter will stay up there for pretty much, I guess, as long as the healthcare provider is able to determine that that the prostate is no longer inflamed and that is open up to allow urine to flow naturally. All right, thank you very much.